I'm going to show you how we bought the low on the NASDAQ with a limit order within a couple points of the low of the day, and how we knew that the market would want to rally higher later in the afternoon. And I'm going to show you how you can come do it with us every single day right here in our live trade room. Stay tuned. So we have this level. This is interesting because they've already been here. So right around the open, it's going to be 71.5 area. And then if that breaks, then it's going to open the door up for down to here, which is, well, let's say by 8 o'clock, it'd be 414. And then we can clearly see there's some big room down here, and it's 323, something like that. That's if things really start to sell off. Clearly, we need to get through this again, but we would think that after being there one time, that would be sufficient that we would break it the next time. Let's see. Hopefully, the S&P gives us a little bit something a little bit more clear. It doesn't. We've got this. I mean, as of right now, everything kind of points to lower. I mean, my main focus is trying to, I want to get a trade on the NASDAQ. And I see that we have a few new people who've joined us. So I'm just going to reiterate for the, if you haven't been here and you haven't been trading with us, I just want you to know there's one of the things that I'm big on is that I'm not going to try and force anything. And so if the market doesn't give us what we want here today, it's okay. We don't have to do anything. We'll be all right. We'll come back and we'll do it again tomorrow. That's not how I'd like for it to go. I'd like for us to get a really great trade that we go, yeah, this one makes a lot of sense and we can take that, but we're not going to try and force anything. I just don't see. I am a little bit conflicted, and here's why I'm conflicted, because I'm not at all convinced about a big move lower being anything that's sustainable. So doesn't mean I don't think the market can go lower. I'm just saying it's not what I see as the. I think that they want higher. The problem is that move higher keeps failing. And so it's really a matter of how much lower do they need to come so that they can get enough participation in the market to be able to drive this thing up to where they want to go. That's what I think is going on. So it doesn't mean that I won't play it as a seller. But overall, I have a long bias here still. And maybe temporarily, I have a little bit of a short bias. So we'll see how this plays out. I make all the trades in a sim account, but I copy them into my different accounts. And that's just the way that I do it. I don't know. It's just the way that I've done it. What I'll likely do is I'll let this open and I'll give it 5 or 10 minutes, and we'll just see what things look like. If it is going to move lower, there should be, either way, there should be plenty of opportunity. There's really not a whole lot of news here today. So if the NASDAQ were to come back up to here, that would be interesting to me. So that's that. I think that's a 25% level over there. Let's look at it a little or maybe it's the, oh, that's 50%. So that's the 50% level. Be nice if it bounced a little and then went lower, but might not get that. It might just come right down there. The only thing is that on the S&P, there's just nothing here. See, till 45. That's just so far away. So I don't think that's going to be super helpful on here. So we really probably have to lean a little more on the NASDAQ on this. Midpoint's 32.5. It probed that to 28. So probed 4.5 points, not much. And it, you know, it would be great if it bounced back up to here. So this 471 area and 410 area, that's going to be our initial range, and then we'll see where things go from there. Again, I still think in the big, big picture, I still think this is just, I think it's just some selling to pick up some more buyers. Maybe we'll try this down here. Didn't quite get there. Would like for it to. Maybe we'll try it at like 11.5 with just like a small, just a small stop. I did 25 ticks. And I'm going to try. No way it's going to come. If that is for real and it comes to right there and doesn't get us the rest of that. So I just did a 25 tick stop. So it's not going to be very big. So it doesn't give it a lot of room to probe here. And that's okay. I'm not willing to put a lot of risk on here. Part of the problem is the I'm just going to move the stop to 09. I'm actually going to go break even, guys. Just a tick in front of that. Where is this? So it might just get back to here. So I'm going to turn that back off, and I'm probably going to cover here close to this midpoint. If it comes back underneath this, I'm going to get out. Sorry, this cough has been driving me crazy still. Okay, so we're getting real close to that point where I'm going to cover. All right, I'm out. That's a typical kind of morning for me. All right, so I just want to show you one other thing that I was looking at here when I was taking this trade. As you can tell by the pre-mark and the work that I'm doing there, what you can see is that I'm looking at the indexes together and I'm seeing how they look together. So what I have right here is just a 5-minute chart on the S&P, and what you can see is that at the open, it popped up right over here. This green line, these are something called T1s. We have a whole class where I taught a master class and taught how we draw these in, and they are essentially just an extension off of a prediction point. That's all they are. So it's a measured move anchored at a prediction point, and so they're really reliable. I really like them. So I use them pretty much every day in my trading, and we have traders who really lean on them. So anyway, just wanted to point out this is the opening candle right here. It came up, it probed through this. It was 88.5. It probed it by 3 ticks, and then it moved down, and you can see we had basically 81 and 80.25. Yesterday we had a level at 80.5, I think was the level. We had a T1 at 80.5, and so this was the level. It probed down here through 81. It came within a tick of that. I mean, these are very, very close together. So it probed down here. This lined up well with the trade on the NASDAQ, but I ended up getting the trade on the NASDAQ because if you look at the trade on the NASDAQ, it moved much better and in a lot better direction. And basically what happened is this came back up here. We had this CP and I wasn't too confident. I didn't know how much. I knew that if the S&P was lagging behind, then the NASDAQ was going to tend to follow that, and that any kind of big move on the NASDAQ was unlikely as long as the S&P was kind of lagging behind. And as it came up and it started to struggle up here, now had the S&P shown more strength and really started to break out above this level and break out up here, I would have wanted to hold that, and I would have thought, okay, I bought the low of the day, which I did buy the low of the day, but I would have thought, okay, that's the low of the day, and now we've got a lot of room to run, and we've got 60, 70, 80, 200 points on the NASDAQ. And there are certainly days like that where those kinds of things happen, but I didn't think that was the timing there for today. And if you look at how the day played out, what you can see is the S&P did end up trading lower. The NASDAQ did not trade any lower. This was the low of the day on the NASDAQ, was right here, and it never traded back below that. It did come back and trade at this 50% level between the prediction points, but then that held. Ultimately, that ended up holding, and we got to move up out of there, and it ended up rallying even further. So that was that. But I want to show you one other thing. I did one other trade today. It was after the trade room, and I just want to show you, just for educational purposes, to help you understand what I'm doing. So when this held right here, I thought, okay, great, but I also knew there was a chance this could end up coming lower. It didn't really get out of this area. You can see it traded a lot around the CPs here. And so that's what had me get out of that NASDAQ trade a little early. I did, that was a $1,600 trade on the NASDAQ. And if you do that across, let's just say if you had 10 Apex accounts and you have a $1,600 trade, it's a $16,000 trade. If it was 20 accounts, it's a $32,000 trade. And if you just do the math, if you make $500 a day over 20 accounts, that's $200,000 a month. $500 a day, 20 accounts, it's 200 grand a month. So you don't have to kill it. You don't have to hit these huge home run trades. So that was all we needed there on the NASDAQ, and that was good enough for me. I want to show you, I did this trade on the S&P when it traded back over here. This is about 10:30 Pacific time. It traded over here, and I did end up buying this at 81. And the market was so slow and not really going anywhere. And so I ended up loading up a little bit, and I got a little bit bigger size on, just because I knew that there was a really good chance that I'd just be able to get out of it at break even if it wasn't going to work. I thought this was already tested. I didn't think that was really going to matter. So if you look at this, it's at 10:40 my time. It came down and touched right here. And I probably should have taken it on the NASDAQ, because at 10:40 right here, the NASDAQ was basically testing this KP and then ended up moving up out of there, and then ended up holding on a bit, just like the S&P. You know, there was a lot going on around these two prediction points here. And so anyway, that is the main part of what I wanted to say, is that if you just focus on, if you can make $500 a day and you do that across 10 accounts, that's $100,000. It's $1.2 million a year. If you do that across 20 accounts, it's almost $2.5 million a year. So it's just, you don't have to hit these big home run trades, and you don't have to try to hold, and you don't have to trade 400 times a day. You can get one good trade, call it good, and be done. By the way, end of the day, how do you like this? It goes up, touches the KP within a tick or something, pulls back to the midpoint within a tick or something, and then ended up continuing up from there. It's pretty amazing. I've been using these tools for a long time, and they still amaze me. So if you're interested in being a part of what we're doing in the live trade room, you can find the information on how to do that right here on this page.